Can't say we didn't warn you, folks. Here's the thing. I don't actually think that this trade is one that we need to dive too deeply into. It's a blockbuster of a deal. The Pittsburgh Penguins and the Edmonton Oilers have swapped goalies, and a bunch of other assets have been involved there too. The reason I don't think we need to dive too deeply into this is because we've already made like 2 or 3 videos in the past month discussing the inevitable, hypothetical, eventual Stuart Skinner and Tristan Jarry trade. So I'm going to go out there and give myself a big pat on the back for reading, reacting, and replying to all of this Jarry-Skinner trade rumors that were popping up over the past few weeks, because it's finally official. And at a pretty inopportune time as well, 7 a.m., I didn't have time to go out there and make a video about it right away. But you can see here, the trade itself, the tweet on behalf of the Pittsburgh Penguins, was able to get 1.2 million views. The people are talking about it. Let's dive into Stu Skinner versus Tristan Jarry, and also get into some of the other elements of the trade. So the full trade goes as follows. The Oilers have traded away Stuart Skinner and Brett Kulak alongside of a 2029 second-round pick, in exchange for Tristan Jarry and forward prospect Samuel Poulin. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, does this not make the Oilers worse? Jarry for Skinner, okay, you can say that's an upgrade. I'll admit, Jarry has actually been pretty good this season. But Brett Kulak? Losing out on a very solid, versatile, middle-to-bottom pair defenseman that can provide some depth on a team that has been struggling defensively. Why would the Oilers do that? Well, it's because they actually did make themselves a second trade. Ladies and gentlemen, a second trade has hit the building. We have ourselves Nashville. The Predators have received a 2027 third-round pick from Edmonton for Spencer Stastney. And look, this trade is so quote-unquote insignificant that the Predators don't even have themselves a graphic that has an image of the player. It's just a graphic that says, hey, we are trading away our guy, and we're getting a third-round pick in exchange. Scrolling down over here, we can see, courtesy of Frank Saravalli, Pittsburgh did not retain any salary on Jarry. Edmonton also believes that Spencer Stastney, acquired from Nashville, can be the long-term replacement for Brett Kulak. So that's it, eh? 2 trades made by the Edmonton Oilers early in the wee small hours of the morning. And it's essentially Stu Skinner, Kulak, a second and a third for Jarry, Poulin, and Spencer Stastney. It's not a 3-way trade, it's 2 separate transactions. It's very clearly 2 separate transactions. But let's dive into each of the players over here before giving a conclusion, a verdict as to how we can assess this situation. But ultimately, it's going to be hard to find. Samuel Poulin, that's the guy that we need to bring up here. And then Spencer Stastney, that's also the last guy. So let's dive into Tristan Jarry first and foremost, the newest Edmonton Oiler. As we had said, he's pretty good. Expensive? Sure. But he's at a .909 save percentage this year at a .266 goals against average. Jarry has been solid for most of his NHL career. Spare last year. Last year was a total travesty of a season, .893 save percentage at a .312 goals against, all while making $5.3 million a year. That is obviously not ideal for a guy with the price tag that Jarry was at. This season, though, .931 record, 1 shutout, .266 goals against average. He has had a pretty good start to the season, and look, the numbers speak for themselves. This guy's a lot more reliable this year than Stu Skinner has been, who is making a lot less, $2.6 million a year. Stu Skinner, though, 891 save percentage and a 283 goals against. You talk about Jarry being bad last year and then recovering this season. Nah, Stuart Skinner has been bad for most of the previous few years, ever since that Stanley Cup playoff run back in 2023. That reputation of his taken a hit, and it never really recovered. Sure, he had a 900 consistent year throughout 23-24, but the amount of times he still needed to get pulled did not do him any favors, and as a result, you're starting to see some more of the details as to why this went down. Pierre LeBrun said on TSN that Bowman and the Oilers have been thinking about an upgrade in goal ever since Skinner was pulled in the Stanley Cup Finals last year. They've been tracking Jarry's play the entire year. They love that he has locked up 2 more years after this one at $5.3 million. Game 6 in Florida last year was brutal. The goal he let in where he chested down a flip shot in front of the net told me enough. Great guy, rushed into being a starter, wish him all the best, change required. You could very well say that that's the case here with Stuart Skinner. Yes, he was supposed to be the goalie of the future for the Edmonton Oilers, and yes, there was a period where it looked like that was going to happen. 914 save percentage in 22-23 is pretty solid for a guy who had played 50 games for his first time in his NHL career, and that was just a mere, 4 years ago? That was looking very optimistic for him, but it just didn't continue. It didn't carry forward into the next few years. He was rushed, and now he's going over to Pittsburgh where, hopefully, the Penguins and their goaltender factory can allow this guy to become a little bit better. You've got kind of a 3-goalie rotation going on with Pittsburgh. Blomqvist, Shilovs, and Stu Skinner. So you don't really need any one of them to fully take over and be amazing because you got 2 other options. Meanwhile, Jarry, who has been pretty good, is going to stabilize the crease in Edmonton alongside of Samuel Poulin, who unfortunately is not going to do specifically that. He's a forward prospect, but 24 years old, he had played 2 games with the Penguins this season, had 0 points. He's been an AHL guy most of his career so far as a pro, but he has been hovering around that point per game mark lately, and we've seen the Oilers try to take swings on these former top round picks that didn't really work out with their old teams. They did so with Matt Savoy, they did so with Isaac Howard, now they're doing it with Samuel Poulin. It's a pretty interesting formula that I actually do think is quite respectable, but we'll see whether or not Samuel Poulin is able to actually bring value to this Oilers squad. At the very least, I like the idea of having these French-Canadian guys in the system, from Raphael Lavoie over to Sam Poulin. Were they taken in the same draft? 2019 NHL Draft, 21st overall. I'm pretty sure Raphael Lavoie was also a 2021 guy. Can we see that over here? Lavoie. He was a 2019 guy, also taken out of the QMJHL second-round pick, a few picks after that Sam Poulin and Jakob Pelche. There you go, that was the 3-headed monster in the Q that season. But then you talk about the guy who's coming in to replace Brett Kulak. Spencer Stastney is 25 years old, 6 feet, left-handed guy, and he played himself 30 games with the Predators this season, 9 points. Definitely not an offensive-heavy production defenseman, but he is a guy who can provide some stability on the back end. He is a little younger than Kulak, so obviously there is potential for him to inevitably fill in that role long term. It seems like that's what the Oilers want. We had seen the Oilers actually take a swing and get some good results out of other defensemen in this age range. I think Ty Emberson is the one that stands out to me right away from a few years ago when they had acquired him from the Sharks. So obviously it's a formula that's worked for Edmonton. They like the player coming back, and because they were able to trade away Kulak, they were able to get that Tristan Jarry contract on their books and Stuart Skinner off. So with that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these 2 Edmonton Oilers trades? Spencer Stastney over to Edmonton for a 3rd, and then, of course, the big one, Stu Skinner for Tristan Jarry. It's all going down. Goodbye, Kulak. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Oilers and Penguins trade. I hope you enjoyed this Swedish Ashroll sign on, and bye.